Commander Zarthok of the Vrelnian Empire stood on the observation deck of his warship, gazing down at the blue marble called Earth with contempt in his 4 eyes. His scales rippled with amusement as he reviewed the data scrolling across his neural interface. No plasma shields, primitive kinetic weapons, chemical propulsion. The humans were centuries behind every other spacefaring civilization. "This will be the easiest conquest in the history of the Empire," he hissed to his second-in-command, Officer Krell. "Their governments are fragmented. Their weapons are laughable. They haven't even achieved fusion power." Krell's mandibles clicked in agreement. "The invasion fleet reports readiness, Commander. Shall we begin the subjugation protocol?" Zarthok had conquered 17 worlds in his career. He knew the pattern well. Superior technology created instant submission. The Vrelnians would descend, demonstrate their power, and within days the primitive species would bow. Earth would be no different. "Begin," he commanded. The fleet materialized in Earth's orbit, 500 warships that blotted out the sun over major population centers. Zarthok activated the universal translator and broadcast his message to every device on the planet simultaneously. "Humans of Earth, I am Commander Zarthok of the Vrelnian Empire. You are now subjects of the Emperor. Surrender immediately, and your species will be granted the mercy of servitude. Resist, and you will be obliterated." He expected panic. He expected chaos. He expected surrender. What he got was silence. Then something unexpected happened. Every human government simultaneously sent the same 2-word response: "Come try." Zarthok's scales bristled with irritation. Defiance from primitives was always tedious. He ordered the first strike on a military installation in the North American continent, a place called Colorado. His weapons would turn it to glass, and the humans would understand their place. The beam fired. At that exact moment, Zarthok witnessed something that made his blood run cold. Every civilian in the nearby city didn't run. They didn't hide. They grabbed whatever they could carry and rushed toward the impact zone. Doctors, teachers, construction workers, even children, converging on what should have been a massacre. "What are they doing?" Krell whispered, his confidence evaporating. The installation was destroyed, but before Zarthok could fire again, he saw them. Hundreds of humans pulling survivors from the rubble with their bare hands, forming chains to pass equipment, organizing with a speed and efficiency that seemed impossible for such a primitive species. A human female, burned and bleeding, was carrying 2 children away from the flames while directing others to safety. "They're not retreating," Zarthok muttered. "They're saving each other." Over the next hour, Zarthok watched in growing unease as humans across the planet responded not with surrender, but with something he had never encountered: unified defiance. Every nation, every faction, every group that had been at odds with each other for centuries suddenly moved as one organism. His fleet intercepted communications. Scientists were sharing research freely. Military forces were combining strategies. A Chinese engineer was collaborating in real time with an American physicist, a Russian programmer, and an Indian mathematician. Ancient enemies were shaking hands in bunkers, pooling resources without hesitation. "This is illogical," Zarthok said, his voice trembling. "They should be blaming each other, fighting over resources, surrendering to save themselves." Then the counterattack began. It wasn't sophisticated. It wasn't advanced. But it was relentless. Humans retrofitted their primitive rockets with nuclear warheads and launched them in swarms. When those failed, they used satellite networks to coordinate ground-based attacks. When those were destroyed, they hacked Vrelnian systems using methods so chaotic and unpredictable that the Empire's AI couldn't counter them. One human teenager in South Korea breached their communications by exploiting a vulnerability that shouldn't have even existed. A flaw created by pure human illogic that no rational mind would have considered. Zarthok lost 12 ships in 3 days, but what truly terrified him wasn't the losses. It was the humans themselves. A fighter pilot, after ejecting from his destroyed aircraft, grabbed a rifle and continued fighting on foot. A scientist, working on a weapon, refused evacuation during a bombing and completed the project seconds before the building collapsed. A mother in Tokyo created a communication network using nothing but old radio equipment and sheer determination, coordinating resistance across Asia. The Vrelnians had conquered species that were stronger, faster, smarter, but they had never encountered a species that simply refused to break. On the 7th day, Zarthok intercepted a transmission from a human leader, An elderly woman addressing her planet. Her words were simple, but they struck him like a plasma bolt. They think we're weak because we're divided. They think we'll surrender because we're afraid. They don't understand that humanity's strength has never been in our technology or our weapons. It's in our stubborn, stupid refusal to give up. It's in our ability to stand together when everything says we should fall apart. They picked the wrong species to threaten. Zarthok looked at his tactical display. 50 more ships lost. His fleet was crippled. The humans were using everything. Satellites, submarines, even their ancient nuclear arsenal. They were turning their entire planet into a weapon. "Commander," Krell said, his voice hollow, "the Empire is demanding an explanation. How can primitives be doing this?" Zarthok understood now. The Vrelnians had made a fundamental miscalculation. They had measured humanity by their technology, their weapons, their individual strength. They hadn't measured their will. They hadn't measured what happens when a species that spent millennia fighting itself suddenly had a common enemy. "Retreat," Zarthok ordered quietly. "Commander?" "Retreat," he roared. "Mark this system as forbidden. These creatures are too dangerous." As his battered fleet limped away from Earth's orbit, Zarthok filed his report. He wrote about the humans' primitive weapons and fractured governments. But he ended with a warning that would echo through the Vrelnian Empire for generations. They are weak in every measurable way, but they possess something we cannot comprehend, a willingness to sacrifice everything, to unite instantly, to fight with a fury that defies logic. Earth must never be approached again. These humans do not surrender. They do not break. They simply refuse to lose, and that makes them the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Zarthok never conquered another world. He had seen what true strength looked like, and it terrified him.